Hi, this is Sarit Switzer, and welcome to the It Is Taught podcast, a podcast devoted to the teachings of Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi as recorded in his most famous work, the Tanya. My hope for this show is to make these teachings accessible and relatable to the average person, regardless of prior Jewish education or affiliation. The episodes follow the prescribed daily study portions and are meant to serve as practical lessons in how to live your life as your true self and develop an authentic and powerful relationship with your Creator. I have personally experienced the effects the study of this work has had on me, and I'm excited to share what I can of this knowledge with you. So please join me on this journey of learning, self-growth, and connection with your source. Hi, and welcome to the It Is Taught podcast. This is episode 94 for the 23rd of Adar Aleph in a leap year. And today we are beginning a very famous chapter in the Tanya. This is chapter 32. It is known as the heart chapter, the love chapter. And 32, interestingly enough, in Hebrew, is the letters are Lamed and Beis. Lamed has the numerical value of 30 and Beis has the numerical value of 2. You put those together, it's 32. And it also means heart. The word for heart in Hebrew is lev. So it's a very fitting chapter to talk all about love. And so also very lucky for us, this year being a leap year, we get to learn this chapter amongst several days. So in a regular year, this chapter is divided into 2 parts for 2 days. And in a leap year, like we have this time, it's divided into 6 parts. So we're really going to be focusing on this topic for 6 full days. So very exciting. And see that this topic of love, specifically the love of your fellow Jew, this is a really apt place for the Alter Rebbe to put it, because we'll see that it really is all the things that we've been talking about so far. So really culminate in this chapter, in this idea. So even though every single episode of Tanya, every single episode of this podcast is sort of like a standalone thing that I really think that you can probably gain a lot of wisdom and understanding and self-awareness from and self-growth in every episode on its own way, if you were just to listen to any random episode. Nevertheless, there is also a buildup. There's sort of like this progression within Tanya, like the Alter Rebbe is leading us on a journey. And personally, just I'll share this in teaching this podcast. This is honestly the first time ever. I mean, I've read Tanya many times over the years when you do your daily Tanya, but this is the first time ever for me personally that I'm really seeing this progression in a really clear way. And I'm seeing this build up, and I'm seeing how each chapter leads into the next. And there's a logic there, which I think is really cool to see. So the entry for today is very short. It's just a few lines. Before we get into the text, I kind of want to say in my own words what I think the Alter Rebbe is bringing up here, which once again, I think relates really well to modern day psychology and some of the things that we've talked about before, where one of the best remedies for sadness or for depression is to actually, somewhat maybe paradoxically, to get out of oneself. So there's kind of this tendency of people who are depressed or who're sad or going through a bad time to wallow in their depression, wallow in their sadness, maybe speak to somebody and analyze and think about why am I sad and everything. And not that there might not be a place for that and a place for psychoanalysis and that kind of thing. But the approach that the Alter Rebbe kind of takes here is one that I think a lot of psychologists might agree with as well, is that actually the best remedy for overcoming sadness is to actually get out of yourself and to actually not be so self-absorbed. And so we've been talking about this a little bit before. And in today's Tanya, this is really the focus, is what the Alter Rebbe basically says is that everything that we've been talking about so far, this whole idea, what was a big focus of the last few episodes, the last few chapters that we've been talking about, is about really becoming humble, really lowering our own status in our own eyes, which one might think might make a person sad and have a low self-esteem. But we actually have talked about how we flip it on its head, that when we minimize the value of ourselves, when we minimize our importance, this actually leads to a sense of joy and happiness, and it gives us a mission and something to accomplish out of our lives. Like we get rid of the need to define ourselves and to have this like specific label or image of ourselves as a tzaddik or whatever it is, or some level. Like we've gotten rid of the labels, and we focus instead on the mission. We focus instead on something that we were trying to do, which is namely to bring our godly soul out of galus. And so what we'll learn about today is that through this is why that this joy that comes about through, ironically perhaps, this degradation of the self leads to another really nice side effect, which is that it leads to the commandment of loving your fellow Jew. And this chapter is really going to focus on that, on how that works exactly. So let's get right into the text where we'll see how the Alter Rebbe breaks this down. So the Alter Rebbe says that here, through keeping all of these things above that we talked about, meaning to say that our bodies should be really considered as lowly and disgusting in our eyes, we will only have joy in the soul. Our souls, no pun intended, joy will be for our soul alone. And this is a straight and easy way to come to keep the commandment of the V'ahavta l'recha kamocha, that you should love your fellow as yourself. For every Jewish person, whether he is a big person or a small person, meaning big or small in spiritual stature, whether this is a very great kind of person or just a simple kind of person. So that's the end. It's, again, really short. But again, just to recap the message that the Alter Rebbe is teaching us today is that through this whole process that we've undergone, this journey that we've been going through in the last few episodes of really humbling ourselves and really lowering our esteem, especially our physical esteem in our own eyes, the more we do this, this will lead us to rejoice in spirituality. So we'll minimize the importance of materialism, and by minimizing the importance of materialism in our own physical body, this will lead to valuing spirituality and our spiritual self over and above all of this. And this, the Alter Rebbe says, is a very easy and straight way to loving your fellow Jew as yourself. And so this is just a little intro to this idea, and we're going to continue along these lines tomorrow and for the next few days. So stick with it, and I will speak to you then. Thanks for listening to the It Is Taught podcast, hosted by Sarit Switzer. This podcast is dedicated in loving memory of my maternal grandfather, Avraham Yitzchak ben Binyamin HaKohen of blessed memory. Music by Shoshana. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to support the show, please share it with others and subscribe on YouTube, Apple iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And make sure to leave us a 5-star review. To find out more about the It Is Taught project, including more information on my soon-to-be published book, please visit our website, itistaught.com. To catch the latest from me, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Looking forward to speaking with you tomorrow, and until then, have a great day.